seconds. And it's underway now in the first set. Let's join our commentators, John Barrett and Bruce McAvaney.
Good on you, Joe, and it's a good start for Peng Shuai here. She's broken Venus in the opening game. And now leads 40-love on serve. And good afternoon to you, John.
Good afternoon, Bruce. The surprise to all of us is the way that Peng has just... Oh, there's Oracene. That's Venus's mum, and beside her, of course, Serena. But the way Peng has set about her ground strokes, out-hitting Venus in the early stages. She screamed a winner on a return of serve that had Venus's eyebrows lifting in the previous game. Interesting player, because just 19 years of age and untried yet in the big time, but with huge potential, as we saw in Sydney, semi-finalist there.
Cheers.
An immediate overrule from last graph.
And a good one for Venus. So back to deuce here. This Peng's been one of the finds of this summer, hasn't she? Beating Messina. Petrova had to retire. She's not happy here.
Cheers. The call came after he hit the ball. He made a call. Yeah. No. The call didn't affect your shot.
No, but it's my voice.
That's my ruling. It's juice.
Well, it has to be a subjective judgment.
I know he made a call. He made a call, but he didn't affect your shot.
Bruce, this is an interesting technical point.
I know he made a call, but it didn't affect your shot, in my opinion.
And the technical point is that the umpire has to decide whether she could have made a play on the ball or not. The overrule was the prerogative of the umpire.
So Peng making the point that she didn't have a shot in the end. So at deuce, Lars Graf, our umpire from Sweden.
They're forced into error.
Well, we sit at the bunker here, John, and we're not far from Venus right now, and the pace of Peng is impressive. She's got some power on the groundies.
Playing each other today for the very first time.
And that's power on the groundies too. Off the deck there, so back to deuce.
Cheers.
Well, it certainly is beautifully timed.
Advantage, Peng.
He's looking fed up with a miss there. Slightly mistimed it. She's been swinging a little bit early at the moment, and I'm wondering whether this court may be a weeny bit slower than the court she's been practicing on.
Cheers.
It's lovely when a newcomer appears of some class, and she has potential, this girl. They start to believe in themselves.
And what's even more exciting, John, is where she comes from.
Oh boy, if China ever wakes up, look out world.
They have 5 in the main draw here. Li Na's through to the last 32, and they had a round of 16 at Roland Garros last year, so you feel like it's starting to happen. So Venus hasn't been able to get to a break point yet, but we're back on juice here.
So there are the support group for Peng.
Advantage Williams.
Well, I didn't get the chance to see her first round match against Maria Elena Cameron, but she won it very easily, 6-1, 6-2. Did Peng.
Game Williams.
So we're back on serve after 2 breaks in the opening games here. Number 8 seed Venus Williams against Peng Shuai, who's now in the top 50 in the world after her performances in Sydney. She was 326 12 months ago, got to 73 at the end of 2004, and now sits at 48 with a bullet.
It's a wonderful rise. Interesting player, two-handed both sides, a bit like Monica Seles. So we call this one a right-handed because she serves right-handed. Seles served the other way.
Love 15.
I think both Venus and Serena slightly unknown quantities at the moment. This is her first event of the year.
15 all.
Well placed end quick, 188.
30-15.
Oh, great tennis. No hesitation.
40-15.
And many players would have let that drop because the vertically falling ball, one of the most difficult to smash, and they're coming down straight.
Oh, well played, Venus. It's now 2 games to 1 in the opening set.
Williams leads 2 games.
So the second round match, an interesting one too, between the much improved Peng Shuai, the 19-year-old, and Venus Williams, a 4-time Grand Slam winner, twice at Wimbledon, twice at the US Open. On serve in the opening set, after a couple of breaks of serve at the beginning. First Venus and then Peng.
Love 15.
Well, you're right about Venus, and then those 4 finals she lost to her sister in a row, starting in Paris, ending here. They were 1 and 2 in the world just then, and what a wonderful triumph it was for Richard Williams, their father, who'd forecast as much, and we all said he was mad.
Well, she's been in 10 finals, Venus, at the Grand Slams. Won 4, been beaten in 6, and on 5 occasions it's been Serena who's beaten her in the final. The other occasion was Martina Hingis at the US Open when she was very new, Venus, so Kid Sister's done some damage. John, these two players live in the same state because Peng's based at Boca Raton in Florida. And Venus at Palm Springs Beach in Florida as well.
Well, that's brilliant play from Peng here. Not afraid.
30 off.
In fact, it seems to be relishing this chance to show what she can do against one of the world's best. Perhaps just a little surprised at the way Peng is able to match her off the ground. But we saw in Sydney how quickly she moves.
Cheers.
And of course the experience of a match like this on centre court with about 15,000 people watching her and millions more on television, that will be money in the bank. Can't buy that sort of experience.
Advantage, Williams.
First time she's double faulted.
Cheers.
Well, she did well there, Peng, because Venus had really upped the ante and must have felt that she had her on the run. But overhitting, so break point saved, back to deuce.
Advantage, Peng.
Always do with a bit of luck against anyone. Ooh, some close ones.
Well, she's had two very long service games here, Peng. Was broken in the second game of this set and now hanging on.
Advantage, Williams.
So for the second time in this game, a break point for Venus.
Cheers.
Yeah, just a little bit erratic today. Off the ground, of course, this is her first tournament, as I say. She just had the match in the first round against Danielle Du, who I thought tested her well in the second set, but I thought Venus played pretty well to beat her.
Advantage, Williams.
It was an awkward first round draw for Venus, wasn't it? Because Danielle Du's done very well here in the past. She's had a couple of great matches with Capriati over the years. A third break point here.
Great play. Beautifully flat she's hitting the ball.
Cheers.
And that gets the penetration. Look at that, straight through the ball.
That was a little Celis-like, wasn't it, the way she stepped in and belted it away?
Advantage, Williams.
Wonderful defence from Venus there. Reminding us how quick she is. What a great athlete she's been and is. Remember when she won her first Wimbledon title? That's skipping all over the centre court, leaping up and down.
So gets another break, and it's 3-1 in the first set.
Quiet, please.
Looking forward to that with Daryl and a couple of great Olympians. Stephen Bradbury, who did a Bradbury by winning in Salt Lake City when all seemed lost, and the mighty Shane Gould, one of our greatest ever swimmers.
Sure, it won't be long before they're calling on you to show us your two-step.
Don't you start, John.
15 love.
I've been avoiding that phone call, I can tell you. So Venus has had to work hard to get the breaks, but she's found a way, hasn't she? Through Peng on 2 occasions here, and now at 3-1. And it's the range under real pressure that's costing her a bit here. She's been long on a number of occasions at the end of quite spectacular rallies.
Well, that's because it's so flat, the shot that she's hitting. You better beware drop-shotting Venus Williams, one of the fastest women on round the tennis court. Those long legs eating up the ground. She was a bit far back to try it.
Game, Williams.
Well, a second consecutive strong service game for Venus, and she races to 4-1.
Leads for games to 1.
Well, that scoreboard looks a little lopsided, but it's been a battle, and it's taken a while here. 4-1 for Venus Williams over Peng Shuai of China. What a star Venus has been.
Well, and still is, really. And of course, the trouble is her whole career has been bedeviled with injuries. I can't possibly list them all, but if you go back to '98, she missed the championships at the end of the year with patella tendonitis. Then in 2000, she had tendonitis in both wrists. Missed the first 5 months of the season. That's where she's so good. On the run, flat out, timing it perfectly.
Love 30.
Got used to the pace of this court now.
Love 40.
This is the trouble for Peng, that her serve isn't threatening. Venus, who can open her shoulders on her returns.
15, 40.
That one just at 150 kph.
Service. Game Williams.
Hasn't been able to hold here, Peng, in this opening set. Her only game that she won was in the first against the Williams serve. Is, I think, how Venus and Serena do over the next 2 years will be one of the big themes in women's tennis, along with the Belgians and the Russians. There's lots of storylines at the moment.
Unquestionably true.
Serving for the opening set.
Love 15.
In that period that Venus and Serena had such a run, Venus played 13 Grand Slams between Wimbledon 2000 and 2003 and made 9 of the 13. She made the final.
That's an incredible performance.
Love 13.
Well, a little chance here.
Oh, what a pity. She deserved that point.
15-13.
Had set it up beautifully with those penetrating drives. But the return from Venus, this one just a bit too fast. Just reminding Venus she's quite ready to swap powerful drives with her as long as she wants to.
Well, that is a surprise, isn't it? So a break back, but it's still 5-2 for Venus Williams.
Williams leads 5-2.
5 breaks of serve in this opening set. And for Peng, she hasn't been able to hold, but she has kept herself alive at 2-5 here.
Love 15.
Well, it may have been out, but it was the right shot.
Love 13.
Well, the quality of the Williams return, they're the problem. And immediately in trouble on serve.
And I think what we've got to remember here is Venus, who's playing in her 30th Grand Slam, and all the finals she reached you told us about. For Peng, it's just her second.
So she's fought hard. You'd remember Venus's debut at Wimbledon, I'm sure. It was heralded as she came through. And she didn't last long in that first Grand Slam. I think she played a very promising Polish girl at the time, but she did leave her mark.
She certainly did. Lost in the first round that first year.
So a big point here for Peng at 30 all.
30-40.
Set point. And again, he comes up with a break point on serve against Peng.
Oh, that's wonderful tennis.
Cheers.
And these worthy of the great Monica Seles, these two-handed drives deep to the sidelines and the baseline, and the final winner quite brilliant. At set point, particularly so.
Advantage, Williams.
Yes, the ball a bit low there, didn't get down to it, tried to reach for it.
Well, for the second time, Peng has pulled out plenty to save a set point. They've been great rallies, both of them.
They certainly have. I'm more and more impressed, having really watched her for the first time properly in Sydney last week.
Advantage, Peng.
And actually, I think all credit to Mollick when you think the way she beat her in Sydney. She had to play pretty darn well.
Cheers.
So back to that too was a full house at Homebush on a Friday night. So talk about a learning curve for Peng. This is a summer she's going to remember in Australia for a long time.
Advantage, Peng.
Well, that's the tough one, hitting the cross-court ball down the line over the high part of the net, and it was short. It needed an awful lot of topspin to control it, and she slightly fluffed it.
Game.
Well, she's fought hard here, hasn't she? So's Venus, obviously, but this set's not over. It seemingly was. And 5-1.
Williams leads 5-3.
And the good story for Peng is that she's hurled for the first time, and that's going to give her a lot of confidence.
And the way she saved the two set points, Bruce, they were wonderful rallies, as you said at the time.
She was brave, wasn't she? She was prepared to be aggressive. Oracene and Serena. Serena already through to the third round. Venus with 3 titles in the last 2 years. And she was averaging 6 a year before that for 4 consecutive years. Now 5-3, first set.
Yes, there were more injury problems last year hampering her. in Berlin. Her left ankle hampered her preparation for the French Open and Wimbledon. And then in Los Angeles, a right wrist plagued her. And she retired against Davenport. 2 weeks off again. So it's been the story of her career, I'm afraid. Oh, what a lovely rally. She thought there was a call this end that wasn't made.
15-all.
Seemed to me to be all right there. It was very near our commentary box here in the corner. And finishing it off quite beautifully. Wrong footing Venus, who's charging into the gap.
30-15.
Well, she's not missing by far. She had Venus really on the back foot there.
Well, that's where Venus has got the edge, no question, on serve. Power and accuracy, 187k.
So 2 set points now for Venus. She had a couple on the Peng serve in the previous game.
And
it's serving that's helped her there. And it's 6-3, but what a struggle it was.
6 games to 3 and up 15 love in the start of the second set as we return now to Bruce McAvaney and John Barrett.
Thanks, Joey. Peng serving in this opening game. Love 15.
Yeah, she's just making a few errors when she's trying to force. Probably got a bit too close to the ball on that occasion. Well, 2 drop shots tried, 2 drop shots have failed.
15-13.
We'll see if she learns the lesson. Too quick for her. Plenty of time for the winner.
That set up, and it was invited to be smacked away, and that's what Venus did. So break points again. They've been all over the place for Venus.
Williams.
She just can't hold serve, can she, Peng? Only the once in the match so far. And Venus with the early break. Here's the slow-mo extreme, which has been fascinating to watch. This is one of the classic serves in the women's game.
Well, it certainly is. Her first serve, the equal of any woman I've ever seen. Her second serve can be a little bit shaky sometimes. And here the racket going right down the back as the body is going to explode and throw the racket head at the ball. The wrist is going to snap through 180 degrees as the arm moves forward just about a foot. That pronation is what gets the head speed of the racket and the zip on the ball. What a lovely picture.
And don't the eyes tell a story in sport, as they did there, with Venus wide-eyed and focused. So 15 love.
30 love.
And of all the players I've ever seen, I think the best at watching the tennis ball until it had hit the racket was the great American Pencho Gonzalez, Mexican-American.
40 love.
There are lots of photographs of him with his head still down where the ball was when he'd hit it, and the racket had swung through, rather like a golfer, keeping his head down. Acknowledged there by Venus. That brilliant return.
40-15.
Worthy of Venus herself. Have another look at this. Timed to perfection. Look at this. Couldn't have been better. Oh.
40-30.
Well, this is just wonderful play. The point won, though, by the return of serve, not the last shot.
Let's proceed. Game, Williams.
So Venus holds on, and it's 2 love. And obviously everybody looking forward to that matchup. That coming up after this women's second round match between Peng and Williams. So Hewitt versus Blake. Had a couple of thrillers at the US Open in the past, both 5-setters.
God, she's forced an error again with the accuracy of that drive.
She's a fascinating player to watch. She's very interesting, different, isn't she?
Yes, there are echoes of Celis, no question. She may have consciously copied Monica. Who knows?
30 love.
I mean, if you can be quick enough to get to the wide balls hitting two hands both sides, then you have a terrific advantage. The two-handers have power. They have three things. They have power, they have control, and disguise. And a simple put away here.
Let's proceed. Let's proceed. $40-15.
Well played. Holds with authority. Keeps the pressure on. It's 2-1 Williams. Perfect day for tennis in Melbourne. It's a bit breezy around the centre, but Rod Laver Arena shielded a lot by the breeze. Sun's broken through, as you can see. Not too warm. And Venus seemingly in control, but this is a tight match. 6-3, 2-1 with the break, but there's been lots of breaks of serve. And there's a fair way to go, you would think, for Venus to get home. The serve will be critical in the second set, as it was in the first for Venus.
$15
Yes, embarrassed to have missed that easy one. But Venus actually has run down so many wide balls that perhaps she was going for a little bit too much there. That's what pressure does for you.
Love. 30-15.
Just the first for Venus in this match. And also just with the one double fault. Well, an interesting stage in this match, isn't it? 30 love, 2-1. Cruising a little, but now at 30 all. And I think right now, depending very much on getting that first serve in.
Which has been happening quite a lot, 67% of the time. Which is very healthy. I mean, there's no question that is where she has the edge today. As soon as she has to drop one hand off the racket and defend,
40-30.
a little vulnerable. But she'll get better at that. What you look for in a player at 19 is potential. She has plenty of that.
And there are 19-year-olds and there are 19-year-olds, John. I mean, Hingis at 19 was the complete package, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
Peng's playing her second Grand Slam only at 19.
And she only played 4 tournaments last year on the main tour.
Advantage, Williams.
So putting it in perspective, here is a player at the start of her career against a player at the height of her powers. Well, perhaps she's faded a little from her absolute peak, Venus, but still right up there. And yet, Peng is able to match Venus for much of the match. And if she does win this match, as she certainly should, Venus will be pretty glad, I think, to have had this sort of a workout. And that was a pretty deep serve.
Advantage, Peng.
Have another look at this. It landed on the service line. Well, point here for 2-all. Brought out the best in Venus, that did.
Cheers.
Lovely footwork there. Those 2 little skip steps, otherwise she would have been cramped.
Yes,
Williams.
good serving at the end, so it's 3-1 for Venus. Peng to serve. And 1-3. So 6 aces for Venus at the conclusion of that 4th game. And a vital hold it was.
I'm wondering about that call she was that didn't come. Got to play every ball until you hear the call.
Oh, big miss there at 15-all.
15-30.
Well, that's an area of her game she'll improve as she gets more experience on the tour. She'll learn to volley.
And now more break points for Venus. A reminder about today's main match to follow this. The showcase match of the day, Leighton Hewitt, James Blake.
Yeah, too good.
And now in control at 4-1 in the second set.
Williams leads.
So Venus, with the luxury of a couple of breaks, it's been a struggle. Peng certainly has created an impression here, a very favourable one. And she's not beaten yet, but that finish line is getting closer now for Venus. To serve here at 4-1 with the first set already in the pocket. So 7th ace, and as John said a couple of times, it's been probably the most notable difference between the two. Because off the ground in rallies, for much of this match, it's been 50-50.
Again, the tiniest of margins. Losing at the point.
So a second double fault for Venus, but she's still very much on the positive side there on the serve with the 7 aces.
Lovely to watch.
And not the first time today off of Williams' first serve has she been able to hit a clean winner.
But in the very first game of the match, she hit a couple like that to break.
Well, that double fault at 40 love seemed okay, didn't it? But now it's juice. And maybe a little chance still for the teenager from China.
Advantage
Yes,
Williams.
body line serve doing the damage. Using the server's pace, and the two hands, you see, have another look, guiding this ball perfectly out of reach.
Advantage, Williams.
Well, it was the bounce the beater there. She just couldn't get over the top of it.
And I hope that her coach, Alan Marr, will go away and reflect on this match and all the good things that have happened. And I hope he's going to teach her to volley, because some of those raking ground strokes get weak replies that are just asking to be volleyed away.
Advantage, Williams.
Very clever second serve there. And opened up the court. Well, that's an example, John, of the volley not being quite mature enough. And Rai smile, and it's 5-1 of an hour away. We would think.
Oh,
Very dangerous thing to say that too, John, because there's a bit of life in this young Chinese player yet.
and a little shake of the head there from Vince. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. Right on the line. Well, there are very few women who can hit the ball as hard as she's been hitting them today. And at times out-hitting Venus. And again, the two hands helping there, taking the ball almost as a half volley very early on the rise and using that to rush the opponent.
14-15.
And the real area of her game that will need improvement is this serve.
So a 40 love lead now becomes juice.
Advantage, Williams.
Suddenly a match point for Venus Williams.
Oh, what a rally. Two good volleys from Peng, and even Oracene able to applaud that point which her daughter loses.
What a delicious irony. It was the volley that saved her in the end.
Advantage Williams.
Well, Peng knew she was in trouble a long way from home there. And she had a big smile when that ball bounced for the second time. So, speaking of second time, match point for the number 8 seed.
And she's got the match. Venus Williams.
6-3, 6-1, a bit routine, but it was thrilling stuff, to be honest. It was a match of winners more than mistakes. And whilst they're a fair way away from it, there is every chance now that Venus Williams could play Alicia Molik in the 4th round. That is something to look forward to.
Well, I think she'll be pretty pleased on balance. She played against somebody who was giving her a lot of pace, able to groove her own game in the end. Too many mistakes to start with. But by the end, particularly on serve, she had a definite edge.
So Venus on her way to the last 32. It was 6-3, 6-1.